Okay, hey guys, so the materials that we're going to need for this outfit or these pants is the Mainstays basic yarn from Walmart. I believe it's like $1.97 or $2.97 a skein, and it's a medium weight 4 worsted yarn. The recommended hook size is a 5.5 millimeter hook, but I'm going to use a 5 millimeter. The color is green and it is 100% acrylic. So yeah, now I'm going to use my unicorn scissors and some stitch markers to help me keep my place on my work. Also, a 5 millimeter crochet hook. It's one of my favorite crochet hooks. Alright, and for the stitch pattern, I am using a V-stitch, chains, and another V-stitch. So this is a skip 4 spaces, and this one is skip 8 spaces. So it is a V-stitch, chain 8, skip 8 spaces, and then you V-stitch again. This one is wider. Yeah, so this one right here with the 4 stitches, this one is going to be a little bit more closed in, and this one is going to be a little bit more open, but that's the one that I chose for these pants. So basically my waist is 26 inches, my stitch gauge is 4 inches, 4 stitches per inch. That is 104 stitches when you multiply it together. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and then I'm going to go ahead and chain up 104 chains to make my starting chain around my waist. So once you have your chains, you want to go ahead and connect the chain with a slip stitch, and you want to make sure that your chain is straight. You don't want your chain to be crooked once you slip stitch it together, because then once you start crocheting around, it's going to be all turned and you're going to be able to tell that it's not straight. So yeah, I'm going to chain up 3, and then I'm going to double crochet into every stitch around, and that is going to create my waistband part for the top of the pants. And you guys, with this pattern, basically I just saw something when I was scrolling down on Pretty Little Thing website, and this is a variation of that stitch, and I'm basically making pants, and I made like a little top out of it too. So this is like a practice, and this is how I sit down and make patterns usually without filming, but I just decided to film it this time. Yeah, so once you go all the way around, you want to slip stitch into that first chain 3 that is basically counting as well, I have one more double crochet left, but and I'm struggling to get into the stitch, but anyway, you that chain 3 that you did at the beginning, that is going to count as your first double crochet. So you want to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that chain, or you can slip stitch into the top of the second double crochet that you did to keep your seam straight. Either one that works for you, you can do that. So then you go ahead and chain up 3 more. At the end of every row, you're going to chain up 3, and then you turn your work. And now we're going to start the pattern for the pants. So we are going to use that chain 3 as a starting point, and we're going to double crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to chain 1 and double crochet into the same stitch again, and that's called a V-stitch, right? And then we're going to skip 8 stitches and chain 8 chains. And then we're going to loop over and prepare for a double crochet after we skip our 8 stitches. And in that ninth stitch, I'm sorry guys, I can't talk. We want to place another V-stitch. So that's the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then you just repeat the chain 8, skip 8, and if you're doing the method with 4, then you would just substitute the 8 stitches for 4. It's the same basically. So you do that all the way around until you get to the end. It's super duper easy. You just want to pay attention to details while you're doing it, because when I noticed when I made my crotch area, I didn't line up my shorts pattern, so, or the pants pattern, so basically the lines look kind of funny. But you guys are going to see all the mistakes that I made, and that's why I'm showing you this, because I make a lot of mistakes when I'm crocheting, and it just takes a little tweaking to get it right. So basically I'm at the end. Okay, so I'm chaining 3 because I have 3 double crochets left, and I don't have 8 to complete the pattern. So yeah, I just chained 3, and now I'm going to slip stitch at the end of the row like I normally do. I'm going to now chain 6 and turn my work, and I'm chaining 6 because I need to accommodate for the 3 spaces that I have left at the end of the row, which is 3 double crochets, and they are going to be at the end of the row for the remaining of this pattern. I could have went back and modified it even more, but this was just a practice round, and this is how I come up with patterns. And I'm just trying to show you guys that. So like I said, you chain 6 and you turn your work to accommodate for those 3 double crochets that are at the end of the row, plus you want to be able to do your V-stitch. So I'm doing a V-stitch after I chain those 6 chains, and you'll see how it makes sense at the end of the row. So I'm chaining 8, and I'm continuing the pattern all the way around to the end of the row. And I hope this just helps you guys a little bit who want to start making your own patterns and freehanding and stuff like that. You just sit down with a pattern, with a stitch pattern, and you just make it work. So my hips are usually 32, but I'm going to use the measurement of 36 right now, times my stitch gauge. So I know that my hips are going to be 144 stitches, and I'm subtracted my waist from that. So now I know that the increase is going to be 40 stitches, and you can multiply that by 4, 8, or whatever, so you can know how many you're going to do. But I'm going to increase 8 stitches for 5 rows. And the way that I'm increasing, I just decided to add randomly in the rows. I just added I made it a cluster of 4, so I would chain 2. I would do 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. And that's how I was doing my increase. But you can just increase however you want, so it's not as noticeable as mine, because you're definitely going to notice on mine. But it doesn't matter, because I'm going to use this as like a bathing suit cover up when I go on vacation. So right here I'm showing you, this is the increase that I use: 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. But you're gonna notice it, because I'm not gonna change the spaces where I put it. I'm gonna put them in the same spot on every row for 5 rows. So, you know, basically you can do the same thing, or you can modify it and you can just do a cluster of 3, and it probably won't be so noticeable. Or you don't have to do it at all, because you can just, it stretches. The pattern is a pattern that stretches, and it's so open that it's not really gonna matter. But me being me, I like things to be form-fitting, and I just want it to be how I want it. So that's why I did it like that. And I also was supposed to be doing V-stitches throughout the pattern, and when I stopped and was watching TV and stuff, I ended up just doing like 1 double crochet. So you're gonna be able to tell on some of the rows that I didn't do on camera that I messed up. But that's cool, because this is basically like a little prototype. Like, it's just how I can modify this pattern further if I wanted to. So like I said, this is how I was increasing, and it's basically like a cluster of 4 double crochets. So now we're at the end of the row, and remember when I said that you have to accommodate for the amount of stitches that you're gonna have? That's what I did. So when I got to the end of the row, I just was able to slip stitch into the 3rd stitch of the chain 3 of the previous row. Well, the beginning of that row. Sorry, you guys, I'm so confused. So at this point, I have finished all of my increases, and my waist to hip ratio is 7 inches. It takes 7 inches to get from my waist to my hips. So that's basically how my measurements work out, where my increases and everything all measure 7 inches. So at this point, I can begin to add a crotch area to it. And then proceed making the rest of the pants. So don't mind me right here, but measure your crotch or look online. You can definitely measure the panties of your the crotch of your panties and see how long and wide your crotch would be. I usually make mine like 3 or 3.5 inches and like 2.5 inches wide. I don't know what I was doing on this camera with this measuring tape, so don't pay attention to that. Anyway, so yeah, I'm basically going to now put stitch markers in the front and back of the work, so I can know where the middle is. And you just want, this is the part that I didn't really do, but you want to line up your pattern in the front and back, so you can make sure that when you do your pants legs that it'll all be even and it'll look straight when you put it on. But of course I didn't count and pay attention, so mine look a little bit off. But like I said, you find the middle and you put the stitch markers there, and you may need to count just to make sure. You don't want to just guess if you're not familiar with making pants and stuff like that, because you want your leg holes to be even. So like I said, you find the middle, and then from the middle I counted out about 4 or 5 stitches away from the middle stitch marker, and then I marked those with stitch markers. And I you just reattach the yarn, because I did cut the yarn off, and you reattach the yarn, and you want to make a double crochet across all of those stitches that you have marked off, and that part is going to create your crotch area. And I didn't do the crotch area in the pattern design because I don't want my crotch to be open when I actually put it on, even though I'm gonna have like swimsuit bottoms on under it. But anyway, I prepared for a double crochet by chaining 3, and then I'm just gonna go in every stitch across that I have marked off, and that is going to become my crotch. And I'm gonna do that for 6 rows. So like I said, you just continue this for 6 rows or however many rows you need. This is a pattern that I'm making specifically for myself, but it is very adjustable because you're using your own measurements and the stitch gauge basically. So I'm gonna fast forward through this part because it's really easy. You're just going back and forth with double crochets for however many stitches you need. Like I said, I did 6 rows. That's because 2 rows of double crochet for me is 1 inch, and I wanted to make my crotch 3 inches. So yeah, just gonna show you how long it is. Well, how wide it is actually, sorry. And I'm sorry, you guys, if I sound like so low key and monotone or something, but I've been going through a lot trying to get this video edited and uploaded and doing this voiceover and stuff, so sorry. But this is my finished crotch area, and basically I just put stitch markers to match up on the other side of the work where I'm going to slip stitch the crotch at. Like I said, don't pay attention to what I'm doing on this screen because I don't know what I was doing. I was delirious when I was crocheting these pants. So yeah, you just want to go ahead and mark off, or you can guess where you want to attach it at, but it's best to count and mark off the correct spaces so everything fits correctly. And you want to slip stitch the crotch to the back or front of your pants. I think for me, this is the front of my pants. So I switched to a smaller hook, a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, and I just went ahead and slip stitch across. It's super easy. You can use a needle and yarn if you want to, but it's easier to do it just like this so you don't have to cut the yarn off and everything. So now I'm switching back to my 5 millimeter crochet hook. And at this point, I'm gonna chain up 3 to 4 for each round. Sometimes I chain 3, sometimes I chain 4. That's just what I do. I like to do whatever I want when I crochet, and if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know that's exactly how I get down. So okay, so now basically I'm going to chain 6. And I chain 6 for a 3-4 double crochet and 3 to slip stitch into for the next row, because that's just how I ended up on my shorts with the pattern, and I want to continue the pattern. I don't want to switch it up in any way. So yeah, you just have to modify as you go. Like I said, when you're creating your own pattern for something and you don't really have any guidance for it, I only have a thought in my mind, and then I just go ahead and attempt it and see how it turns out, and then I fix it later. So yeah, I'm just going to continue the V-stitch pattern. I'm not increasing anymore at this point. And like I said, you're going to see all the rows that I increased on and when I stopped increasing, and that's because I'm lazy and I wanted to do it that way. But I know for next time that I won't do it that way. So the next time you see these pants, I'm gonna have a written pattern on my blog. They definitely won't look like this, but it will be a video format to follow along once you see the pattern if you get confused. So anyway, I'm over here popping rubber bands off of my locks right now. So if you hear that noise, that's just what it is. And like I said, I'm just continuing the pattern around the leg hole. V-stitch, chain 8, V-stitch, chain 8. And I really enjoy giving you guys, oh, I'm talking too much. Hold on, you guys need to know this part. So now when we get to the crotch part, you have double crochets from the double crochet rows, the 6 rows. I'm counting every double crochet row as 2 spaces. So I'm gonna put my first V-stitch right here because I feel like this is just a good spot to put it in, right? And then I'm going to chain up 8, and basically every space is going to be counted as 2 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's about 4 rows of the 6 rows of the crotch area, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense, you guys. So if you look on your crotch area, I double crocheted, well, I V-stitched into the 4th row of the 6 rows of the crotch, right? So then I chained up 3 eventually after I got it together, because like I told you guys, I was coming up with this pattern just as I was filming. So what you see on camera is all the mistakes that I was making, okay, as I do when I come up with crochet patterns. So I've came up with the thought that I needed to chain 3 because that's just what worked at the moment for this row. I can't really explain to you guys what I mean because like I said, I was winging it and I was just coming up with it. But I chained 6 in the beginning of the row so I could have a chain 3 to slip stitch into. So when I chain 3 at the end of this row, I'm just going to slip stitch that chain 3 into the first 3 stitches of the chain 6 that I started off in the beginning of the row. I'm sorry, you guys, that sounded real confusing, but I hope you guys understand what I'm saying and that you can just put it into motion. And I'm still a newbie, guys. I hate to tell people that, but I've only been crocheting for like, this summer makes like 2 years that I've been crocheting. So like, I'm still a newbie. I'm not by any way like an advanced crocheter at all. I just have a mission and I complete it however I want to. So anyway, basically at this point, you just want to continue the same pattern that I just showed you. You're going to continue that around the whole leg. My leg is going to be fitted at the top by my thighs, and it's going to start getting looser as it goes down, and that's exactly how I wanted it. So at this point, this is about after 17 rows of doing the pattern. It is very repetitive and time consuming when you make these pants. So if you are somebody who sells crochet, you're definitely going to have your work cut out for you, but it's so fun to make. And so I'm stretching it and trying to show you guys, but you can't really see. But this is about how many inches I have so far. And my inseam on my leg measurement is about 30 inches, and I'm about 5'1" or 5'2". So yeah, I need about 30 inches in total, and I believe I did 38 rows per leg, and that was about long enough for me. So that is the completed leg, basically, with all 38 rows. And just at the bottom of it, I'm going to do like a little half double crochet. I probably should have did a single crochet, but I did half double just so it can match the top and just be kind of uniform. So you want to chain 2 if you're doing half double crochet like me. And I'm speeding this up also because it's pointless to show for real. And yeah, I'm just gonna half double crochet. I'm sorry if you hear that noise. That is Blue. Blue, get out. Out. I'm sorry, my dog decided to come in here and lick himself while I'm doing a voiceover, and I'm not having it right now. Anyway, so yeah, I'm half double crocheting all the way around. Once you get to the end, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into that first chain 2 space. And then boom, you're done. Or you can do another row if you want to, but I didn't because they're already long enough on me when I tried them on. And I'm just gonna cut the yarn off, and you know you have to go ahead and weave in all your ends when you're done, but I'm not gonna show any of that on camera. So yeah, basically you're done now. I hope you wrote this down or you remember what you did, and you go ahead and start that same pattern on the next leg, so you can make sure that you don't have 2 legs that don't match each other. I've definitely done that before. So yeah, go ahead and repeat the same thing on the leg, and then you're finished. We are completely finished with the pants. And you just want to put a drawstring in if it makes you feel better. That's what I did, even though it fit my waist perfectly. So yeah, guys, here's the finished product. You will definitely see some of my mistakes, but like I said, that's fine. I'm definitely gonna have it fixed next time you see these pants, and see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.